The obesity epidemic affects millions, and drug manufacturers are cashing in with drugs like Ozempic. Some people say being overweight is a disease, and they want health insurance to pay for it. That approach is exactly what Big Pharma wants. But is it good for the rest of us? Watch to the end where I share the unbelievable statistic on how much the US government actually subsidizes bad health and obesity. And as a bonus, I'll share some natural diet habits proven by science to mimic drugs like Ozempic without the cost or the side effects. How does Ozempic work? Basically, the drug does two things. It suppresses your appetite and it slows down the movement of food in your digestive tract, helping you feel full for longer periods. This leads to reduced calorie intake and therefore weight loss. And the benefits of Ozempic go beyond just shedding pounds. Studies show improvements in other important health markers too. People saw a reduction in waist size of about 4 inches and a decrease in blood pressure by 4 points. These extra benefits contribute to heart health and reduce risk of the complications of being overweight. However, there are side effects. One of the most common ones is stomach distress. In fact, almost 42% of people in trials reported experiencing stomach issues. This high rate of side effects raises questions about its long-term usability, because you need to use Ozempic for life. If you stop taking it, chances are that you will regain the weight you lost. It's one thing to feel nauseous for a month or two of treatment, but having that as a permanent, lifelong situation is no picnic. Recent studies have uncovered more serious concerns. Some users have reported vision problems, ranging from blurred vision to permanent vision loss. This report from Mass General Brigham found that patients on Ozempic had a higher risk of developing an eye condition called NAION, which can lead to blindness. Another unpleasant side effect, as described in the CNN report, is the potential link between Ozempic and stomach paralysis. When this happens, your stomach can't contract enough to push food through. Food stays in your stomach for too long, which can lead to poor nourishment, dehydration, and abnormal blood sugar changes. In severe cases, chunks of food can form and cause nausea, vomiting, and even death. Studies suggest that patients prescribed Ozempic are more than 4 times as likely to develop this condition. Finally, it's important to note that many patients experience muscle mass loss while on Ozempic. Peter Attia, a well-known health expert, put it this way.
I'll tell you what's wrong with it. Almost without exception, every patient we've put on this drug has lost muscle mass, and they have lost it at a rate that alarms me.
This is very troubling because muscle loss naturally occurs as we age, and accelerating this process has a ton of negative impacts on overall health and metabolism. And if you want to learn more about this, see the video in my channel about muscle and aging. But all drugs have side effects. But that doesn't mean we don't use them. Given the incredible results that you get from Ozempic, if you struggle with your weight, it's probably worth a try. And from a personal point of view, I get it. When I was a kid, I was extremely fat. I was constantly bullied. It's no fun being the fat kid in the high school locker room. But I started to exercise, and I started to follow basic common sense dietary habits. I didn't know it at the time, but today research says that these diet habits produce some of the same effects on your body as Ozempic. I'll talk more about them later in the video. So if you use Ozempic, be aware that the long-term side effects are still being studied, and have an honest conversation about them with your doctor. While Ozempic's impact on health isn't completely understood, its financial impact is crystal clear. Ozempic sales are currently $11 billion a year and are projected to be over $16 billion by 2029. That success has made Novo Nordisk the largest publicly traded company in Europe, with a market value of over $400 billion. This growth comes largely from the US market, where Ozempic commands a premium price. In the US, Ozempic costs almost $1,000 per month per person. However, a study by researchers at Yale estimates the cost of production for Ozempic to be about $5 a month. This is a 200-fold markup. It also shows that among the many countries around the world where it sells Ozempic, the highest price is clearly in the US. This raises serious questions about pricing practices and profit margins in the pharmaceutical industry. See the other video on my channel where I do a deep dive on that study and some of the crazy aspects of how Big Pharma sets drug prices. Obesity isn't just about willpower or genetics. The processed food industry also plays a big role in shaping an environment that primes us for weight gain, helping to fuel the obesity crisis. A ton of research like this study shows that the prevalence of ultra-processed foods is connected to rising obesity, suggesting a link between the quality of your diet and your weight. Ultra-processed foods are often cheaper than healthier options, and it leads us to poor nutritional choices. It's easy to overeat with easy access to foods that are engineered to taste great, but are low in nutrition and high in calories. Most fast foods and most frozen foods that are easy to heat and eat fall into this category. What's even more alarming is how our tax dollars contribute to this problem. Get a load of this. 10% of food stamp dollars go towards the purchase of sodas and sugary drinks. That's about $11 billion per year paid for by the US taxpayer, essentially supporting obesity. This statistic highlights the disconnect between our nutritional needs and our food policies. In the US, we cherish our freedom of choice. You might say, I'm an adult, I'm allowed to make my own choices, so let me buy soda. And I'd say go for it, but not with public dollars. This is a perfect example where you could use public policy to drive better health outcomes. Beyond that, the main agricultural activity that we support in the US government is grain production. Only about 2% of the USDA budget goes toward fruits and vegetables. Our federal tax dollars support foods that contribute to obesity and poor health much more than ones that promote better health outcomes. Big Pharma, particularly companies like Novo Nordisk, invest heavily in promoting the idea that obesity is a chronic medical condition. Framing the conversation this way has massive implications for how we treat weight issues. By calling it a disease, drug companies position drugs like Ozempic as essential medical treatments rather than optional aids for weight loss. Novo Nordisk has a very strategic approach to build this narrative. They've invested millions in lobbying efforts, focusing on changing Medicare coverage policies to include obesity medications. This push for Medicare coverage could significantly expand the patient pool, making these meds more accessible to individuals who cannot afford them otherwise. And their lobbying strategy is genius. As this report from NPR explains, they've engaged with influential community leaders and health experts to advocate for coverage of obesity medications under Medicare. Another example is Dr. Fatima Cody Stanford, a Harvard physician and obesity expert. She stated, "We've denied people care for obesity when we haven't for other chronic diseases." Her argument is that obesity should be treated just like other medical conditions, opening the door for increased pharmaceutical intervention. It's also worth noting that she is paid as a consultant for the pharma industry. According to the federal website Open Payments, in 2023, she received consulting fees of over $43,000 from Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, the manufacturer of a similar obesity drug called Mounjaro. Please don't get me wrong, Dr. Stanford is a highly trained expert and she has a right to offer her services as a consultant to anyone she wants. And her insights are valuable. Obesity as a chronic disease disproportionately affects lower income people more. And some of this is due to factors like limited access to good quality foods, fewer safe spaces for physical activity, and fewer healthcare resources. If there are drugs that can make a huge difference in people's health trajectory, why shouldn't they have access to them? If it were me or my loved ones, I would want that. Obesity is indeed a major health issue, and there is no reason why tax dollars are not directed to help people in need. If we use tax dollars to help people who have a heart attack, maybe it's better to use those same dollars to help them lose weight so they avoid a heart attack in the first place. But normalizing the obesity crisis without addressing any other issue is the wrong way to go. It's like a building is on fire and the gas line coming into the building hasn't been turned off. You can put retardant on the blaze and the fire will be controlled. But the cause of the fire has not gone away. And as soon as you stop, the fire comes back in full force. If we can spend tax dollars for obesity treatments, we ought to spend tax dollars and use public policy to provide better food options and even encourage physical activity, maybe through things like gym memberships and more places for safe recreation. What are your thoughts? Should Ozempic be approved by Medicare and other insurance? Should the federal government play a role in incentivizing some foods over another? I'd love to hear your comments. While Ozempic is a miracle solution, the fact is we have pretty powerful weight loss tools right in our kitchen. The secret lies in understanding how our bodies naturally regulate hunger and fullness. Certain foods mimic the effects of Ozempic, offering what could be a more sustainable approach to weight management. Ozempic is known as a GLP-1 agonist, meaning it mimics the action of GLP-1, a hormone in our bodies that helps regulate appetite and food intake. GLP-1 plays a crucial role in glucose metabolism and appetite control. You may be surprised to know that you can stimulate GLP-1 production by eating protein. This review confirmed that protein triggers the production of GLP-1. Some sources say the amount of protein you need ranges from 20 to 40 grams per meal. And this particular article says that there is a significant GLP-1 production if you consume 35 grams or more. That's not hard to do. That's like eating 4 or 5 ounces of chicken or beef. Another way you can curb your appetite is by consuming olive oil. This study looked at the effects of fat on people's GLP-1 levels. They used different types of fats and found that long-chain fatty acids, like those that occur in olive oil, cause GLP-1 to increase. In addition to olive oil, other good sources of long-chain fatty acids include fatty fish, things like salmon, mackerel, tuna, sardines, nuts and seeds, and dairy products like whole milk, cheese, and butter. And yet one more way to curb appetite is by consuming fiber. Soluble fiber slows down the rate at which your food empties from your stomach, leading to a more gradual and sustained release of energy. That's exactly how Ozempic works. It slows down digestion, leaving food in your stomach longer. That helps you feel satisfied. This study confirmed that fiber in your diet prevents blood sugar spikes and keeps you feeling fuller for longer. I'm not saying these techniques are better than Ozempic, but if you have natural solutions that can help you without any drug side effects, why wouldn't you do this too? My personal experience may have nothing to do with anyone else's, but these are the things that I did. I started eating a lot more protein, a lot more vegetables, which are mostly fiber, and fewer carbs. In addition, I started to exercise regularly, and I lost a lot of weight. So let's wrap this up. The obesity epidemic in the United States is nearing a catastrophic level. 50% of adults and at least 20% of kids are obese, and the trend is just going up. Ozempic can dramatically help people lose weight. It has side effects, but the biggest downside might be its cost of $1,000 a month and the fact that you need to take it for life. Ozempic's success has been a goldmine for its manufacturer, Novo Nordisk, and has helped make it the most valuable company in Europe. Some people say that obesity should be viewed as a medical condition, and Ozempic has the potential to change lives for the better. But we also need to change our view of the food environment. For example, obesity disproportionately affects low-income people, and 10% of food stamp money, about $11 billion a year, goes to sodas and sugary drinks. Ozempic works by promoting production of a natural hormone called GLP-1 and by slowing digestion of food, which increases satiety. There are some dietary habits which actually produce similar effects: eating fat and protein, as well as soluble fiber. If you're thinking about taking Ozempic, also think about getting your diet right and doing regular exercise. Ozempic has side effects. Always talk to your doctor before you make any changes. Thank you so much for watching, and please see my other videos here, all devoted to how you can take the best care of yourself and your loved ones.